Hi all, today I'm going to be starting on Advent of Code 2021. For those who don't know, Advent of Code is a programming event that happens every year during the Christmas month. So from December 1st to December 25th, each day at 12 a.m. Eastern Time, a new problem is released and programmers race to finish first to solve the solution. Now, I know it's not Christmas right now, it's actually August 1st, but as today just turned into August, at least I can pretend that it's in December. So, without further ado, let's get started. I usually do this in PyCharm or Python. I don't see why it would be any different. So I'll just boot up PyCharm for now. I need to make a project for this. This is probably loading up some of my existing project, so I'll just click new. What should I name this? Advent of Code 2021. I'll just open it in this window. Yeah, please stop talking. Close Discord. And I don't know why it's still talking. Okay, great. I know for these problems there's usually some kind of puzzle input, and I should try to parse everything first. So I actually should make a helper function or a helper class at least to do this. I don't really need main.py. I'll just remove it. Let's create a new Python file and we name it utilities. I'll continue with that day one. There's usually a part 1 and part 2 for this. I don't know. Sometimes the part 2 actually uses part 1 as an answer, so I don't know if I should create 2 files or 1 file or 2 classes, 2 functions, 1 function. I don't know. So we'll see. Anyways, I don't know how the input is done, so I'll just actually start with it right now. Okay, let's click on day 1. Sonar sweep. You're minding your own business on a ship at sea when the overboard alarm goes off. You rush to see if you can help. Apparently, one of the elves tripped and accidentally sent the sleigh keys flying into the ocean. Oh no. Before you know it, you're inside a submarine. The elves keep ready for situations like this. It's covered in Christmas lights, because of course it is. And it even has an experimental antenna that should be able to track the keys if you can boost its signal strength high enough. There's a little meter that indicates the antenna's signal strength by displaying 0 to 50 stars. Your instincts tell you that in order to save Christmas, you'll need to get all 50 stars by December 25th. Okay, that's in 24 days. We're good right now. Collect stars by solving puzzles. 2 puzzles will be made available on each day in the Advent calendar. The second puzzle is unlocked when you complete the first. Each puzzle grants 1 star. Good luck. Okay. As the submarine drops below the surface of the ocean, it automatically performs sonar sweep of the nearby seafloor. On a small screen, the sonar sweep report, which is your puzzle input, appears. Each line is a measurement of the seafloor depth as the sweep looks further and further away from the submarine. For example, suppose you had the following report. This report indicates that scanning outward from the submarine, the sonar sweep found depths of 199, 200, 208, 210, and so on. The first order of business is to figure out how quickly the depth increases, just so you know what you're dealing with. You never know if the keys will get carried into deeper water by an ocean current or a fish or something. To do this, count the number of times a depth measurement increases from the previous measurement. There's no measurement before the first measurement. In the example above, the changes are as follows. In this example, there are 7 measurements that are larger than the previous measurement. How many measurements are larger than a previous measurement? Oh my god, I have to log in. I totally forgot. I think it's this. I don't remember my password. Yeah, why not? He should be safe. Okay, so we're just gonna have to try to figure out how many measurements are larger than the previous measurement. So, I mean, we start at the first, which doesn't count at all, and then check. Go through the entire list, check if the previous is smaller than the current. And if that's it, we increase the count by 1 until we reach the end of the puzzle input. Let's see what it is. And that should be how I want to solve it. So yeah, the puzzle input is usually really large. So for example, at the end, basically it's usually increasing, but there's also some slight decreases, which is why we can't just assume everything is increasing. So yeah, here 10,040 is smaller than the previous, which is 10,041. We don't count 1, but for 10,040 into 10,041, it is increasing. So increasing in depth, so we count up for that. And then at the end, when you iterate through the entire list, you returned the count. All right. So actually, let me just do the utilities. I remember now. I should save this puzzle input into a text file and then put it in here. So this is my puzzle input. I'm gonna copy this all, Control A, Control C, and then I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna name it day1.txt, and part 1 and part 2 should be the same puzzle input, so we're good. Okay, it's gonna save this here. Nice. And we're going to make a function which is parse. I just want to transform this file into a list of elements. So I know for this, I know each line has 1 element, which is a number. Some other inputs could be some kind of graph, some kind of maze. So we can't really assume that it's going to be steady. There's going to be a single input or a single element per line. Yeah, so why not? It's going to take one parameter, which is the file. And then we're going to do some file OS. I don't even remember how to do this. How do I do file? Is it like system? Is there a class called system, or what do I even import here? Let me just test this out first. What is in this class? Methods, functions. I don't know. Does something to do with file? No. If it's not an OS, then let me just try system. I haven't done this in a while. It's all profile stuff, which I don't want. Alright, there's nothing here either. I don't know what it is. Let me search it up. Huh. So Python, you don't have to import anything. This is just a general function, which is open, and you open the file name, and you set the mode, which could be read, write, and some other modes. Like, I guess I don't need this. Let me try this out. Open? Yeah. Dang. I didn't need to import anything at all. Let's just call this file name, and then file equals open file name, and we're just gonna read it. Let's do an alt check. I mean, just to be safe, why not? Good habit. And we're going to read it into this just becomes a huge string, huh? call it input string. Then afterwards, we should split it up. There should be a new line at the end. Initialize this input array equals input string dot split. Okay, and then we just return the input array, I believe, and I think that's good enough. So in day1.python, just import all, why not? And then we can say parse day1.txt. And we can print this out. And let's run day one. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this works. This looks correct. And we can start our problem now. So we're going to make a function called part1 and I wonder if I should do this inside or outside. Because I know there's going to be a part 2, so I wonder if I should just parse them once or twice. Let's just do it once. Why not? I don't know how this works actually. Let me check it up. Okay. Day one text. We want to print the solution of part 1, so we can input it into the website. And this will be input list. And we can start. So we'll just iterate through every single list. For depth in input list, I want to convert, since they're all in strings right now, I want to convert them all into an integer. So we go, does this work? Or maybe I don't need to do that. So it is just that, convert to an integer. I thought I wasn't. I wasn't going insane here. We have to remember the previous. Okay, 1 second, turn on the AC. All right. So we're going to remember the previous depth. Or should I not do this? Should I just use an integer? Okay. I should use indexing here. So I'm going to go index depth in enumerate input list. And if index is not 0, because we don't want to be comparing to a negative index, we don't compare if it's the first element in the file, we don't want to compare it to anything. And it's and if it is, and if the current value is greater than the previous value, we add 1 to the count. And this will go through the entire input list, and then we can return the count. Shadows, okay, yeah, that's fine, whatever. So let's run it. just not returning anything right now, which is very weird. What happened here? Should convert this to an integer. I think this will work. So let's just print out the input list for now. So the input list cannot even be printed out right now. That is very strange. Otherwise I thought this would work. Let's see if this reached this area. No, it didn't even reach. This is wrong. I don't know the syntax for this. So weird. Python if name main. So name, okay. I need to understand this declarator. So what do you call these actually? Name equals main. Anyways, I got 1715 as the answer. I wonder if Python automatically converts this to an integer. Let me see. Why is this so similar? I don't understand. Anyways, I should do this actually. So 1715. This is my answer. I have no clue. Like I can't check it. This file is too huge. We're just gonna. Actually, usually you check it with this sample example. So before I enter it, I'm just gonna do this. So this will give me 7, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is the correct answer. Okay, so I trust this and I trust that. 1715 works. So let's just input it as the answer right now. Okay, as expected, that's the right answer. Let's continue to part 2. Okay, considering every single measurement isn't as useful as you expected, there's just too much noise in the data. Instead, consider sums of a 3 measurement sliding window. Again, considering the above example. Start by comparing the first and second 3 measurement windows. The measurements in the first window are marked A. Their sum is 607. The second window is marked B. Its sum is 618. The sum of the measurements in the second window is larger than the sum of the first, so this first comparison increased. Your goal now is to count the number of times the sum of measurements in this sliding window increases from the previous sum. So compare A with B, then compare B with C, then C with D, and so on. Stop when there aren't enough measurements left to create a new 3 measurement sum. In the above example, the sum of each 3 measurement window is as follows. In the example, there are 5 sums that are larger than the previous sum. Consider sums of a 3 measurement sliding window. How many sums are larger than the previous sum? So we have to figure out which sum is larger than the previous sum. So it can't be no change, it can't be decreased. that is something to keep in mind of. Also, the this isn't part of the puzzle input. It's going to be the same puzzle input, but now we count in multiples of 3. So for example, 100, then 125, then 124, we add them all up, compare with 125 plus 124 plus 127. And we keep doing that until we reach the end of the file. So it's going to be pretty much the same thing. We're just going to iterate through everything once. But we have to remember the number of the previous index and the number of the previous index. And also we have to remember the previous sum. So this is how I'm going to do it. So 129, well, there is no previous index, so I go to 200. There is no previous index, so I go to 208. Now, though, there are 2 previous indexes, so I add them all up, and I store that sum into a variable. Then I go to 210, and then add 210 with 208, 200, and then compare that with the previous sum. If it's greater, then we add 1 to the count, which is stored in the variable. Then we replace the previous sum with the current sum. And we keep going until we reach the end of the file. That's it. Because we're only looking at the previous indexes. We don't care that there is nothing after 263. In that case, let's just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to have a part 2. Count goes 0. Sum, I don't know, we need to initialize this right now, but I'll do it anyways. So now we'll go through the entire input list. So if index is greater than equal to 0, 1, 2, so do we need a current sum or previous sum? Input list index plus the number at the previous index plus the number at the previous index if that sum is greater than the sum, then count, we increase it by 1. At the end, yeah, I'm going to repeat this code, so I'm going to make it a previous sum and then current sum. Current sum is greater than previous sum. the end, previous sum gets assigned the current sum, and we keep going till the very end. Then we can return the count. Does this work? And we don't need to initialize this. Do we have to do something with the initialization of previous sum? The first sum? Does it matter? They just do not available. What? Oh, it's increasing by 2. 1 second. So the way I was doing it was actually incorrect because the sum pertains to the first element. See, I thought it was the third element adding the previous two elements, which is wrong. It's actually the first element adding the next two elements. Ah. Yeah, so 607 actually pertains to 199 here. Wait. Does that even matter? I don't think that matters. Hold on. Because we're counting windows. It doesn't matter if I count from the 199 or 208. This 3 sum window is just 607. Yes, we're only calculating windows here. So I think this should work actually. The sum will always be greater than 0, so we can actually just set this to 0. So should I should make a sample input. Just do this, why not? So part 1 should get 7. Yeah. And then part 2. I screwed this up. Forgot to convert into an integer because everything is a string value. So 6. Is that correct? There are 5 sums that are larger than the previous sum. Oh, the first one, there is no previous sum, so I shouldn't do this actually. I can either just start at -1. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty clean. You can start at -1. Because these will always execute. So you're not going to get any off by 1 errors. Anyways, it's 5. That's what we did. That's what we got. Now let's run the big boy. 1739. Okay. Okay, that's the 1A answer. And now I've completed day 1. Cool. Yep. So that's the end of this video. Thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.